Today, we're diving into one of history's most enchanting and maybe most frustrating mysteries, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Was this place a real, honest-to-goodness wonder of the ancient world, or is it just a beautiful story we've been telling ourselves for centuries? All right, let's get into it.
It all starts with a whisper. This phrase really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? This isn't a story that's been shouted from the rooftops with tons of proof. Nope. It's more like a secret, something pieced together from quiet conversations and little broken clues, passed down for thousands of years.
So, our investigation really has to begin with the legend itself. Before we even think about hunting for evidence, we need to get a clear picture of what everyone's been talking about. What exactly was this fabled wonder supposed to be?
Okay, so try to imagine this. You're in a hot, dusty, bustling city in the middle of ancient Mesopotamia. And then you look up, and rising above everything is a man-made mountain of green. This wasn't just a park. It was an architectural marvel, basically impossible. We're talking about huge step terraces overflowing with trees, flowers, and vines, all looking like they're just floating in the air. It was an absolute statement of power and beauty.
It's an incredible story, right? But is it true? To answer that, we have to become history detectives. We've got to sift through the dust, and our investigation starts with the only real evidence we have: these little clues left behind in ancient clay and on old weathered scrolls.
So when you dig into it, the evidence we have basically falls into two very different camps. On one hand, you have local clay tablets from Mesopotamia itself, and on the other, you have these much later, super descriptive stories from Greek writers.
And this right here, this is the central problem. It's a real head-scratcher. The local records, the cuneiform tablets from Babylon, they're weirdly quiet. They talk all about palaces and temples, but nothing that clearly points to a massive, tiered garden. And yet the Greek accounts written centuries later are just bursting with these vivid, almost magical descriptions. So what gives? Were the Greeks just exaggerating stories to make the East seem more exotic and amazing? Or did the Babylonians just not think it was a big deal worth writing down?
This brings us to the next massive question. Let's just put the historical records aside for a second and ask something really fundamental. Was this even possible? How in the world could you build and maintain a lush green mountain in the middle of a desert? Well, the answer, if it existed, lies in some absolutely remarkable engineering.
So there's this really compelling theory about the irrigation. It's basically a three-step process. First, you get the water. You dig canals to channel it from the massive Euphrates River. Simple enough. Second, and this is the genius part, you have to get that water up. We're talking about some kind of advanced machine, maybe an early screw pump or a chain of buckets, to just defy gravity and lift tons of water into the air. Finally, once it's at the top, you just let gravity do the work, distributing the water down across all those step terraces.
Just think about the effect. It would have been absolutely stunning. And this marvel of engineering wasn't just for looks. It would have created its own little microclimate, a cool, shaded oasis, giving people relief from that crushing heat. It could have been home to exotic plants and animals from all over the empire. It was a machine for life that literally cooled and enriched the entire city.
Okay, so we have an amazing legend, and we have a pretty plausible scientific explanation for how it all could have worked. That should be it, right? Case closed? Well, no, not even close. And this brings us to the final and kind of the most haunting part of our story, the search for the gardens themselves.
This is it. This is the question that just hangs over everything. If this massive structure really existed, why can't we find it? I mean, archaeologists have been digging in the ruins of Babylon for over a century. They've found palaces, they've found city walls, but not one definitive trace of the Hanging Gardens has ever been found.
So what happened? Well, the landscape itself might be the culprit. Over thousands of years, the very thing that would have given the gardens life, the river, could have also destroyed them. You've got catastrophic floods, you've got centuries of relentless wind and water erosion, and you've got the simple fact that rivers like the Euphrates change their course over time. Any one of those things could have just erased the evidence, washing the foundations away until there was nothing left.
And because of that, the Hanging Gardens don't really exist as a physical place for us today. Instead, they're like this haunting silhouette against the sky of history. It's a shape we can almost make out, a story that feels so real, but it's always just out of reach, shimmering like a mirage in the desert. In the end, the gardens are a ghost among the ruins. And that leaves us to wonder,
Is this a real piece of history that's just been wiped clean by time, waiting for some incredible new discovery that might never happen? Or is the real wonder the story itself? A story that proves our endless fascination with impossible beauty, with human ingenuity, and with the power of a legend to keep blooming, forever, in the desert of our imagination.